The New York Giants just sent a message to the bottom of this roster, and nobody is seeing how ruthless this could get. For years, Big Blue has carried players because of potential, draft status, athletic traits, or the hope that another camp would finally unlock something. But John Harbaugh taking over this team changes the standard. Jaxson Dart is the starting quarterback now, Daniel Jones is gone, and this roster is being rebuilt around competition, physicality, and accountability. That is why the DJ Reader addition matters so much. This is not just about one veteran nose tackle joining the defensive front. This is about what his arrival does to the math. It squeezes the defensive line. It tightens special team spots. It forces former draft picks and familiar names to prove they are more than roster decorations. Jalin Hyatt, Gray, Dante Miller, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, DJ Davidson, Jordon Riley. Those are not random names. Those are warning signs. And by the end of this, I think one of them is gone. Let's be honest about where things stand. The holes are clear, and the roster pressure is real. The Giants still do not have enough proven separation behind the top wide receiver options. That puts Jalin Hyatt directly under the microscope. Speed is valuable, but speed that does not consistently translate into volume, trust, or every down usage becomes a luxury. On a Harbaugh team, luxury players are dangerous roster bets. The backfield depth is also crowded in the wrong way. Gray and Dante Miller are not just battling each other. They are battling roster construction. If a back does not protect the quarterback, contribute on special teams, and bring a defined game day role, he becomes vulnerable fast. With Dart as the starter, pass protection is not optional. It is survival. Wide receiver depth has the same problem. Bryce Ford-Wheaton has size and traits, but traits do not guarantee a uniform on Sunday. If the special teams value is not clearly better than the next man's, the roster spot becomes negotiable. Then comes the defensive line. This is where it gets real. DJ Reader arriving means the Giants are not just collecting bodies inside. They are raising the floor. That puts DJ Davidson and Jordon Riley in a direct collision with the numbers game. And that matters because interior defensive line depth is not sentimental. It is role-based. Nose tackle, rotational run defender, penetrator, game day active, practice squad stash. Every label matters. The uncomfortable part is simple. These are recognizable players, but recognizable is not the same as safe. And that brings us to the six-name bubble watch that could define Harbaugh's first Giants camp. The headline is not that the Giants have roster bubble players. Every team does. The headline is that the bubble now includes players fans assumed still had time. That is the part nobody is talking about. Harbaugh's arrival changes the timeline. A player is not automatically protected because he was drafted, developed, or hyped. If he does not fit the new identity, he is vulnerable. Start with Jalin Hyatt. I know this one is going to make people uncomfortable. Hyatt has explosive ability, and I understand why fans still want to believe in the ceiling. I do too. But here's the problem. If a receiver is not trusted as a complete offensive piece, he has to dominate in a specialized role. Otherwise, the staff starts asking a cold question. Can we carry a receiver who needs specific usage to matter? That is not an attack on Hyatt. That is roster reality. With Dart starting, the Giants need timing, reliability, and receivers who help the quarterback stay ahead of the sticks. Deep speed matters. But if it only shows up in flashes, Harbaugh is going to challenge it. Then there is Gray. Gray's vulnerability is not just about talent. It is about redundancy. Backup running backs have to give you more than carries. They have to handle protection, catch the ball when needed, and cover kicks if the game day math demands it. If Gray is not clearly ahead in one of those areas, he becomes exposed. Dante Miller is in a different kind of fight. He has the type of quickness that makes fans curious, but curiosity does not win roster spots. A smaller back has to bring juice that changes the game. If Miller is not breaking open practices, he cannot just be interesting. He has to be undeniable. Bryce Ford-Wheaton might be the most classic Harbaugh bubble case. Big frame, athletic upside, special teams pathway. But that pathway cuts both ways. If he is a core special teamer, he has a real argument. If he is just a developmental receiver with size, the room gets tight fast. Now flip to the defensive line. DJ Davidson and Jordon Riley are the names most directly impacted by Reader. Davidson has to prove he is not just depth. Riley has to prove he is not just size. That is a huge difference. Reader's presence raises the standard for the whole interior. When a veteran nose tackle enters the building, the staff gets a clearer picture of what real run game stability should look like. That makes every younger defensive tackle easier to judge. Not by theory, by comparison. This is not cosmetic. This is a foundation move. The Giants are not simply asking who has upside. They are asking who can help win a game with Dart under center and Harbaugh setting the tone. And when you connect the dots between Reader, the defensive line, and the special teams squeeze, the whole roster picture changes. Reader solves one problem, but he creates another. That is the hidden cost of adding real veteran weight to the middle of the defense. The Giants may be done making major personnel moves, which means the drama shifts from acquisition season to elimination season. That is a very different energy. In free agency, fans ask who is coming in. In camp, coaches ask who no longer belongs. And Reader is the perfect example. The Giants did not add him just to create a headline. They added a veteran nose tackle because the middle of the defense needed more substance. That means the team is serious about controlling the line of scrimmage. It also means Davidson and Riley are not competing in a soft room anymore. Here is my stance. Reader makes the Giants more physical immediately, but he also makes the back end of the defensive line room less forgiving. If Davidson cannot carve out a specific run defense role, he is in trouble. If Riley cannot show he can hold up against power and still offer game day value, he is in trouble too. This is where cap logic and roster logic meet. Players on the back end of the roster are not judged like stars. They are judged by role, flexibility, and replacement cost. If a player is not expensive but also not active on game day, he is not automatically safe. Cheap depth only matters if the coaching staff trusts it. That is why Reader changes the conversation. He gives the staff a real baseline inside. He makes the defensive front more credible. But he also leaves fewer excuses for developmental linemen who have not separated. The same philosophy bleeds into offense. Hyatt cannot just be fast. Gray cannot just be familiar. Miller cannot just be intriguing. Ford-Wheaton cannot just look like an NFL receiver walking off the bus. Harbaugh teams are built through defined jobs. Who blocks? Who tackles? Who covers kicks? Who protects Dart? Who helps the defense get off the field? And when you combine all of this with the Francis Mauigoa battle, you see the exact personality Harbaugh is trying to install. The Reader move shows the roster is tighter. The Francis Mauigoa situation shows the attitude inside the building is changing. Jermaine Illuminor pushing back against a rookie challenge is exactly what a real camp battle should look like. That is not drama to me. That is competition. And competition is the reset this franchise needed. Mauigoa being part of the conversation matters because it tells every veteran the same thing. Your spot is not inherited. Your job is defended daily. That message travels through the locker room. Offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, running back, special teams. Nobody gets to coast. And this is where the six bubble names become more than a list. They become a test of the new Giants' identity. If Hyatt responds, he can flip the story. If Gray becomes the most reliable third down back, he can survive. If Miller creates explosive plays in camp, he can force the staff to keep him. If Ford-Wheaton owns special teams, he has a path. If Davidson or Riley becomes the trusted interior depth piece behind Reader, the math changes. But if they blend in, they lose. That is the Harbaugh effect. Practices become evaluations with consequences. Depth charts become living documents. Reputation starts mattering less than usefulness. The old Giants too often waited for players to become something. This version feels different. This version is asking players to prove it now. And that is why this roster bubble is not a small August storyline. It is the first real proof of what the New York Football Giants are becoming. Hot take. Jalin Hyatt is the biggest name on this bubble, and I am not backing down from that. Not because he lacks talent. Because his roster value is more fragile than fans want to admit. A speed receiver has to scare defenses, earn targets, or dominate a package. If none of those things become consistent, the coaching staff will not protect the name. My prediction is direct. At least one of these six players will not make the initial 53-man roster. I am putting that on record. That number matters because it means this is not fake competition. It means the Reader edition, the Mauigoa challenge, and the camp squeeze will produce an actual casualty. Not just nervous headlines. A real cut. If I am wrong, I will come back to this video and own it. But I do not think I am wrong. And here is the strongest position. I would keep Bryce Ford-Wheaton over a more one-dimensional offensive player if he proves he is a core special teams piece. That is how Harbaugh thinks. That is how winning rosters are built. The last spots are not for fan favorites. They are for players who survive ugly football. Big Blue needs fewer maybes and more answers. The identity statement is simple. The Giants are no longer building a roster around hope. They are building it around pressure. DJ Reader did not just strengthen the defensive line. He tightened the entire roster. Francis Mauigoa did not just create a camp battle. He exposed the new standard. And those 6 bubble names are now staring directly at the kind of competition this franchise has needed for years. So Giants fans, pick a side. Which name are you fighting to keep, and which one are you willing to cut if Harbaugh's standard demands it? If you are riding with Big Blue through this rebuild, you already know where that subscribe button is. We decode every move, every battle, and every uncomfortable decision. The G-men are back at the table. And this time, the roster spots have to be earned. Go Big Blue.